All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the U.S. National Water Safety Action Plan's webinar today. We are focused today on unpacking the new national recommendations for U.S. Coast Guard approved personal flotation device and life jacket use document. And then we're also going to address some resources and some engagement opportunities for World Drowning Prevention Day. I will pause quickly and just a few notes for today. One is this is being recorded. We will post the recording to the resources page of the website once everything is complete. And then and we will also share out the slide deck and any additional content that comes up during the conversation today. With that, I am going to turn this over to Tizzy Bennett, who is with us today to talk about the new document for life jacket recommendations as the co-chair of that particular working group. So Tizzy, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Tina, and let's jump right in. We can go to next slide. I want to ground us in the larger forest view of this work and the vision of the United States National Water Safety Action Plan, which is a country where everyone is safe in, on, and around the water. And the mission is to prevent drowning in the United States through evidence-informed action and to transform our country into a nation where we can all enjoy the water safely. And I really just want to note that evidence-informed action. For everyone on this call, I think you know that there are some things we know about PFDs and life jackets that are evidence-informed with really good gold standard data. And then there are a lot of other things where the cart and the horse are racing along side by side, and we want to share the information as best as we know it right now. But that's partly why we've called this a working document, because we know that there's still work in progress and lots of evolution of this. And next slide. The overall action plan has almost 100 evidence-informed action recommendations, 40 national implications. There's a great reflection to action guidance document if you haven't seen it already. Lots of worksheets, tons of tools to use. There's a national research agenda, a glossary. Tina will speak more to the website at the end of the presentation, but it's so many resources that you can tap into. And next slide. There are 6 key areas of action. And if we can just go to the next slide, I'm going to be honing in on the focus area of life jackets, personal flotation devices, and other flotation. And within this key focus area, there are 21 action recommendations, 9 national implications, and 12 research agenda items, of which 2 are in the top 20. And next slide. I wanted to touch more specifically on the national implications so that you can see where this work is grounded. The focus number 3, this is national implication number 3, is to develop a multi-year comprehensive coordinated awareness campaign. And part of the way we do that is to work towards consistent messaging and to obtain national consensus on recommendations for use of PFDs, life jackets, and flotation aids while participating in all kinds of open water recreational activities, and to obtain national consensus on the use of life jackets while boating, swimming, or other water-related activities. And while these may be national implications, it really starts from the ground up. I'm such a believer in grassroots. Start where you are and look at what you can do to build towards this overall goal. And next slide. Oh, and hey, I love everybody saying hello. on the chat. Keep going with that. So nice to hear from everybody. The action plan has a life jacket working group, and the group focused in on this particular project to look at creating shared messages and guidance around PFD and life jacket use, definitions for PFD, life jacket, flotation device, and including recommendations around purchasing, fitting, and usage, recommendations for PFDs and life jackets for a variety of ages and environments in and around natural water, boating, human propelled vessels, pools, all kinds of settings, and the type or level of PFD or life jacket needed. I want to pause here for just a minute and speak to those two terms, type and level. For a long time, PFDs and life jackets have been categorized by type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4, and that has to do with the amount of flotation and then the type of environment that the PFD is recommended for. The U.S. Coast Guard is moving towards a harmonization, including working with Canada, around now using a terminology of level 50, level 70, level 100, level 150. This is all in the process of being rolled out, very closely working with the Life Jacket Association. And what we found in the development of this current working document, that the rollout of life jackets and PFDs by level is really just happening now. And a lot of the communication from the Life Jacket Association and the U.S. Coast Guard is coming out. So we actually made a recommendation that this document be looked at in early 2027 to see what we can do to build out content in areas such as this. And it's really a different way of thinking about it and can be quite confusing. And we decided we wanted to wait for some better communication education resources that we could build into the document. So stay tuned and continue to watch also what U.S. Coast Guard is putting out. We wanted to touch on when and how, and then looking at these topic areas to clarify was, when do you use the term PFD or personal flotation device, and when do you use the term life jacket? And the bottom line is you can use either term. With that said, the term life jacket is much more broadly understood by the general public. When people use the term life jacket, they are using that typically in the general public in that more overall look that would include any type of U.S. Coast Guard approved flotation device. However, within the Coast Guard terminology, personal flotation device, or PFD, is really that umbrella term of which life jacket is one of the types, along with buoyancy aids and hybrid devices. So what the Coast Guard has said is it's okay to use life jacket in that broader terminology. An exception to that would be if you're looking at training people. You want like lifeguards or people who are going to be out there and really need to understand the nuances around personal flotation devices and life jackets. That's a really good time to look at PFD and that definition, and then life jacket as a part of it. The other thing that I want to say is life jacket can be one word or two words. Currently, the Water Safety Action Plan has two words, so we used two words. The U.S. Coast Guard is moving towards one word, but either way is fine. So we wanted to look at how to bring in the broader context of flotation and when to think about that and when to use PFDs or life jackets in different environments and with different populations. And next slide. This is a graphic to just briefly show you what I was just speaking to, that there are wearables of which life jackets are designed to turn an unconscious person face up. So if you're in a sailboat and you get conked with the mast and you fall into the water, a life jacket will turn you face up. A buoyancy aid, which is what many PFDs or life jackets out are PFDs on the market are buoyancy aids. They do require a little bit of movement to help keep your airway, your nose and your mouth out of the water. The other category are throwables. And throwables can be things that you throw out to rescue someone who's in trouble. We included the term life jackets and buoyancy aids because you could throw a life jacket out and rescue someone as well. And I want to really give credit to my co-chair, Kelly Toth with Underway USA, who developed this graphic and who has been so closely involved with the development of the entire this entire document. Next slide. Examples of the questions that we tried to address with this document are, how do I pick a PFD or life jacket for myself, for my child? What about an infant? What if my child or an adult has a special need? And what does that mean? And how do I choose the right PFD or life jacket? What about use in open bodies of water outside of a boat? I just spoke a little bit to turning ability and why it matters. Why do you need to wear one if you know how to swim? And do I still need to supervise this carefully if my child wears a PFD or life jacket? Those are examples of what we tried to dig into with what started as maybe a few pages long and is now a 28-page document. And next slide, please. So how does this align with the PFD industry? This this document is meant to really complement what the Life Jacket Association and the industry is communicating as well. And we want it to be a source for up-to-date information. We want to be able to for it to be used as part of training and water safety communication and social media, and to help build consistency between industry and water safety professionals. And next slide. So, how can you use this new information? This document is a source for up-to-date information. And what I would suggest is take a look at it and follow up to the webinar today. Open it up, scan the document, look at the different topic areas that are covered. Think about the kinds of communications you have right now and the questions you've had from the communities you've worked with or that you've had even amongst your team members. And look at the document and go, oh, there's some content on that. Let's look at what we're seeing and how does that align with the new document. So then you really can look at updating them for alignment and consistency. It's an opportunity to update your materials and your social media content and to integrate it within your state and local water safety plans and strategies. It can be a resource that you include as a link at the bottom of your plans, that this has been a source that's helped inform what you have focused on when it comes to PFDs and life jackets. I really want to go back to the questions you hear from the communities that you serve and that you make sure that you're addressing them. And, you know, different communities have different questions in part based on the context and the cultures that they come from. So thinking about that broader perspective will really help your resources be as up to date as possible. It's also an opportunity to look at policy, system, and environment changes that align with messaging. For example, we know the evidence is very strong that wearing a life jacket in a boat is protective and reduces the risk of drowning. So that's our recommendation, wear the life jacket in a boat. So then what are the policies and system and environment changes you can make that help support that recommendation that's in this document? there are a number of policies that are included as some of the other recommendations related to life jackets that I haven't talked about today, but would also be a good follow-up to go, oh, there's a policy around requiring life jacket use in like kayaks and canoes. What are we doing in our own community to require that, as an example? And then to look at evaluating where are you at right now with people's understanding their attitudes, their beliefs, and what they're doing related to these key messages, and how can you evaluate the impact of the work that you're doing and these messages that you're putting out there. And then to help the U.S. National Water Safety Action Plan share this with national, state, and local organizations, as well as your extended networks. The one thing I also want to add is for all the education in the world, it doesn't matter if you can't buy it, you can't, you don't have access, you aren't given it, or you can't borrow a PFD or life jacket. So also keep in mind access and what that means for the recommendations that you're making, because it's very frustrating if you're wanting to do the right thing and you don't have access to those resources. And next slide. I wanted to briefly mention that one of the other recommendations in the plan is the development of a national standard, and Kelly Toth and a committee with the National Association of State Boating Law Administrators has come out with a new K-12 personal flotation device national standard for to help you and your swim programs in the development and what you're doing, whether it's swim lessons or in the classroom, how to have a framework from which you develop your own content. So more exciting work going on in this area. And next slide. Here's a QR code to get to the standard, and there will be more information about it coming out in the months to come. And next slide. So next steps, we're going to keep seeking feedback. Consensus takes time. And it is, as I mentioned, designed to be a working document. And we really want to continue creating opportunities to collaborate. And we really do welcome your comments and questions. And here's the email to use. And next slide. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to Tina now.
Thanks, Tizzy. And we'll get to questions here in a second. We just have a couple more little tidbits to share here. So this is obviously an image of the document itself with the QR code and a direct link. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to share the slide deck with everyone that's registered, so you'll have the links accessible to you following the webinar. This is how you can find the document on our website. Really, really important, right? So under Tools for Action, and then under the Resources tabs, if you click on Toolkits, it'll take you down to the Toolkits section. And that top line under Toolkits is the document itself. In addition to this, we also have listed under each of the national implications that Tizzy mentioned earlier, and the associated action recommendations that this particular document is related to. I've added the kind of a note of the reference for the document at the top of the page for each of those. So you can kind of copy and paste the link into your browser to get to it directly from there. But that way we're kind of cross-referencing and connecting dots as we go. So let's say you click onto the national implication, there'll be a note that says, hey, check out this new document with regards to this national implication. So then you can go directly to the document to find more information in that space. So doing our best to, again, cross-populate a little bit. Tizzy, do you want to take this?
Yes, I'd like to make some acknowledgments. We really the steering committee acknowledges, and I want to acknowledge my co-chairs, Kelly Toth and Adam Kaczmarchi, as well as the working group members. This took us 2 years to put out, and it went through a lot of different reviews and asking other experts and really trying to figure out how to put this forward. So I really want to reference everybody who's been involved, as well as all the people that help support us in the development of it. It has meant the world to us. So many people who are willing to spend their time to help make this the best that it could be. And then next slide. Oh, and I want to give a special acknowledgement to my co-chair in the initial development of the Water Safety Action Plan, the Life Jacket Working Group. Chris Steck passed away several months ago, and it has been heartbreaking for everybody. He has been such a leader, and this part of the plan would absolutely not have happened without the incredible leadership of Chris.
Thank
And
you.
questions, comments. I've seen a couple come through the chat. Tina, I'm wondering if you can help with those.
Yeah, so I'm going to
Facilitate.
start. There's also a Q&A. If you want to throw questions into the Q&A, that gives us a little bit more time as we continue to move forward. But there's one in particular, Tizzy, that I don't recall the discussion in the working groups if this came up or not, but life vest versus life jacket. So this mentions in particular, like when we look at Amazon and when parents are looking on Amazon for toddler swim vests, the with the arm floaties, right? Like we've talked about, um, what, where do those fit into this discussion?
That is a really good question. And I do not think we actually specifically talked about life vest versus life jacket. What we did talk about is it is important to state US Coast Guard approved. Having that in the front end and at least starting your communication like in an education resource, US Coast Guard approved life jacket, and then you could call it, or PFD, then you can call it life jacket without that in front of it as you go through. But the approval piece is important. My recollection is that life jacket is generally more broadly understood, but both are still being used. And we could do, we are going to note that for the next version of doing updates to actually add that, because I think that's a great question. Thank you.
So I don't know, Tizzy, if this is something that you can address or not. But in particular, there are some counties and cities in California where life jackets are being banned or not allowed to be used in pools, right? And we've discussed this, I think you and I specifically. Um, I don't know that we've talked about, again, this particular component of things as the working group is concerned for this particular document. But do you see that perhaps coming into play as we kind of move forward down the road?
We actually published a paper with Dr. Kwan and Angela Beal Tawfiq looking at policies in pools and open water related to life jacket use. And there was a real range in the pool environment. In general, most pools allow them, at least in the shallow end. There are more questions come up in the deeper end about people who are not proficient swimmers getting into deeper water and then feeling uncomfortable with letting them wear a life jacket that they may not have the other aspects of swim and water competency that are so important. At the same time, we are talking out of two sides of our mouth when we say, wear a life jacket when you're in deeper water, and especially when there is no lifeguard. And so there's it's a challenge to come to consensus on that. I think I would suggest, I know the California Water Safety Action Plan is deep and there's really good conference coming out of the state. It may be a very good topic area to pull together and talk about at your next conference. And you may want to reference the paper that we wrote. I'd be happy to give that link to Tina at the end of the presentation. She could include it. If that's okay, Tina, you could include it um, with the other information in the slides.
That would be great. Thanks, Tizzy. Okay, the one other question that I'm seeing is whether or not we will, as a working group, look to provide best practices on how to conduct observational surveys for PFDs and life jackets in open water.
I love that question. I saw David had put that question up. We actually have a paper published on life jacket observations, and the U.S. Coast Guard conducts PFD observations in every state, working with JSI. And we had a representative from JSI who was on our original life jacket working group. I have some information. We can absolutely include it on the next version of this working document. And meantime, I'd be happy to include a couple of links. And David, please, or anybody else who would like to contact me directly about conducting observations. I have literally sat outside with binoculars and looked at hundreds of people boating and what they're wearing. So I'd be happy to follow up on that.
Great. Thank you. And I think one thing I really want to kind of circle back on for this particular document, because it's come up a couple of times just via email conversations with folks more than anything, is the development of this document was not necessarily intended for general public consumption, right? That this was developed with the intention of it going to the professional who then condenses it down, digests it a little bit, and shares information out, right? So, as mentioned, like utilizing the content and the resources that are embedded in it to create your social media, to align the messaging that you're using when you're messaging out and communicating out to the public. Do you want to expand on that at all anymore in this space, like Tizzy?
Thank you so much. And that is spot on because I think it would make anybody's eyes glaze over to look at this 28-page document. But it is a source and it is a resource. And there are some people who really do want to dig into all of it. And that's what's so great about having it available through the Water Safety Action Plan website. But it's really meant as a resource for all of you to use as you develop your own materials and outreach and training, and then to think about how we continue to build towards consensus and consistent messaging because there's a lot of confusion out there. You would think it was such a simple thing, but there are lots of things that are this professional says one thing and this professional says another thing, and then how does a parent or a caregiver make a decision about what they should do? So thank you for bringing that up, Tina.
All right. We're going to pause for a second. If you have any additional questions, you can throw them into the Q&A. Tizzy will be able to see them as we keep moving forward to make sure that we have enough time to talk about resources and engagement opportunities around World Drowning Prevention Day. So feel free to continue to populate questions in the Q&A, and we'll certainly circle back again at the end in case there are additional questions that we want to share and discuss publicly. So Tizzy, I want to thank you for your time and your energy and your commitment to this document. You and Kelly have done an amazing job getting this across the finish line. And I think all are really excited about what's to come, knowing everything that's happening in the space right now and the continued work that needs to be done going forward in early 2027.
You're welcome and thank you. And thanks to everybody.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about World Drowning Prevention Day. We have Megan Ferraro with us. She is not only our board chair for the U.S. National Water Safety Action Plan, but she's the executive director for the ZAC Foundation as well. And they are doing some exciting things around World Drowning Prevention Day this summer. And so I will turn it over to you, Megan.
Thank you so much, Tina. So, as most of you know, World Drowning Prevention Day was designated by the World Health Organization to be held every July 25th. And it's a day where around the world, water safety advocates and drowning prevention specialists like yourselves come together to really try to change the tide. And as they're calling it this year, unite to turn the tide on July 25th as sort of a day to mark all of our efforts. Over the last several years, the World Health Organization has collected examples of how members of the field like yourselves have been marking this special day. And we noticed that the United States wasn't getting as much attention as we felt it should. And so last year, the U.S. National Water Safety Action Plan took it upon themselves to begin collecting and collating stories that you all submitted about work that was happening around the United States and submitted those stories to the World Health Organization. And if you follow these things as closely as I do, you will have noticed that in last year's World Drowning Prevention Day report, there were many, many examples of work being done all across the country from organizations like yours. And so we're looking to do that again this year. Tina, next slide. So in an effort to really not only highlight the work happening across the United States, but to educate folks in your communities and to educate your local media, we've endeavored upon a Light the Country Blue campaign. And what we mean by that is that we've been reaching out to local landmarks, and by that it could mean a bridge, a skyscraper, even a town center, to light their buildings, their landmarks, their lamp posts blue for World Drowning Prevention Day. This is an effort that we started about 6 months ago, and we've been really successful. We have 75 different locations around the US, next slide, Tina, that have agreed to light blue. This is a list, and actually there's 10 more. There's as of the last 24 hours, we've had 10 more locations come on board. So you'll notice cities from all across the United States that have agreed to do this for us, either in the week leading up to or on the day of World Drowning Prevention Day. And what our goal is to make this as a resource that's available to all of you. So if you see your city on this list, and this list is available as a link to a Google Sheet, so you can scroll through that and find your city. If your city's not on there or your state's not on there, reach out to me and we will coordinate to see if we can get them to agree to participate. We want you to be able to go to that landmark that's nearby you and get your picture taken in front of it to really make sure that you're able to see this action come to life in your community. We'll have a draft media advisory so that you can plug in your information about local drowning prevention efforts that are happening, and the date of the building being lit blue so that you can send it out to your media. And hopefully your media will have you on to talk about why World Drowning Prevention Day is so important, why the city's landmarks are being lit blue. So a media opportunity for you to really educate your community and to educate your media about why World Drowning Prevention Day is so important. Craig, I'm seeing your chat here. Let's definitely talk about how we can get some buildings in Atlanta lit blue this World Drowning Prevention Day. That link, as I said, Tina will share in the follow-up email that will include a link to this webinar, but will include to some of those additional resources that Tizzy mentioned, along with this list and the sample media advisory. Next slide, Tina. So as you're going through the process of not only participating in the building lighting campaign around World Drowning Prevention Day, we want to hear about that, and you'll be able to submit those pictures that you'll take in front of your local landmarks. But really, we want you to send us examples of water safety programming in action in your community. It could be any time this year, but really focusing around that May 1st through July 15th timeframe. It could be pictures of you reading a water safety book in your community. It could be pictures of swimming lessons that you've funded or that you've done yourself. It could be a water safety coalition meeting. It could be a clip of you doing local media. Any example that you have of what water safety looks like in your community and how you're advocating for it, submit it to the watersafetyplan.us. There will be information on our website on how to fill out that form. We will compile all that information and send it to the World Health Organization so that you can be highlighted on a global stage for your hard work. Tina, next slide. These are some examples of what last year's submission to the World Health Organization looked like. They kind of put together these clips and shared it in their annual wrap-up, which was really exciting to see. I think in 2024, there was one example of work being done in the US, and look at all of these and more that were included in 2025. So we want this to look even bigger. We want there to be more examples of work being done across the US. And so please don't hesitate to submit as many examples as you want. You could submit one or you could submit 20. Okay, I'm going to pause for questions. We've had a lot of great information today from both Tina and Tizzy, but especially Tizzy on kind of really sharing an example of what the plan looks like as it begins to come to life. So really exciting to see that happen. We're right at about the 3-year mark since the plan has been published. And we have a ton of work to do, and we'll continue to do that. We can only do it, though, with your help, and hearing your questions really helps us guide the process along. So I will pause here. I'll take a look at the Q&A. Tina, anything you're seeing that we can begin to address?
Just people excited about the opportunity to light buildings up, right? Which is always fun. So we definitely will make sure that you all have access to the links and the resources that Megan's talked about in the webinar follow-up.
Excellent. And Chrissy, I see your message. I'm going to copy that and make sure we have it to tackle.
Any other questions for Megan right now? Right. I'm going to slide forward just a little bit, just to share, just to kind of circle back so you have a clear understanding of kind of how we want to connect with you all and how we'd like to see you all engage with the plan as a whole. Certainly the resources that we have available that we were talking about today is one way to engage and really kind of start utilizing the resources that the Water Safety Action Plan has pulled forth. But there's a ton of information on the website, watersafetyplan.us. The resources page in particular is where we're housing the majority of our content and information. When it comes to the Share Your Story, it's a banner across the top of the page. So that's live on every single page of the website and very easy to access. The action recommendations we've talked about previously, you can filter through them based on what you're looking for or how you're trying to move forward in your own state, county, or community in the development of your own strategies. Reflection to Action Toolkit is still live, step-by-step processes for developing your local strategies. Office hours, they're still going on a monthly basis. We're still alternating between community office hours and state office hours. We did, just as a quick note, we did cancel the office hours previously scheduled for tomorrow so that we could kind of push interest to today's webinar, but we'll be back in July for state office hours again. So look for that link on the engagement opportunities on the resource page of the website. Much like this particular webinar, the recorded content that we've had from the past is loaded onto the resources page through our YouTube account. So you have access to any of those topics and discussions going back to, state of the plan 2 years ago, I think. So so you have access to everything that we've put out, which is really, really nice to be able to share with folks as they're coming on board or as they're getting better understanding of the plan and what we are and what we're trying to accomplish. Certainly the action dashboard is one of the areas that we would love to see continue to expand and to grow. This is the map, as we refer to it, right, of where local, county, and state strategies are being developed or have been developed. So please take a moment if you're part of a coalition that has even an internal strategy that you work on or internal goals for your local community. We'd love to know about that. So just fill out the form, share that content and information with us, and we'll make sure that you're included in that map. It also will help us as we move forward as this plan, as we get into this like mid road of the cycle of the 10-year plan and start developing report cards and looking at how we've grown from step 1 through step 5 through step 10, right? That we can start to pull some of that data and really see the growth at the state, county, and community level. So the work that you're doing being showcased on that map also helps us kind of reflect back and look forward into what we've done and where we're headed. The newsletter comes out quarterly. We've got a couple coming out this month, and we're going to do another one in July as well, just because there's so much that happens in the summer season. And then our social media accounts are here. So Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, feel free to follow us. Anything that we put out as far as engagement opportunities, whether it's office hours, webinars, new content, new information, shared content from other organizations or things that are happening around the US in particular, we'll push that out through our social media accounts. As an example, when the CPSC announced their grant opportunities recently through the Pool Safely campaign, we made sure to include that in social media content so that everyone was aware that was happening. And then certainly, we can't do this alone. And so there's always a link on the website for donations as well. So just keep that in mind if you have additional funding opportunities, or if there are funders that you know of that might be willing or in a position to fund, whether it's research or specific areas of the strategy itself, then certainly we're always looking to have those conversations. Lots of ways to engage. And the watersafetyplan.us is the website direct link. And like I said, because we're going to share this out, the QR code's been included as well. Any remaining questions? I will stay on for a little bit longer. Megan, anything else that you'd like to share with participants today?
No, I'd just like to thank everyone for joining us today and for your kind of commitment to helping us move this plan forward. It's been a real joy to see it come to life. And Tina, your leadership has been just so incredible.
So I'm going to throw really quickly. We always have a contact us link available on the website, which comes directly to me. So info@watersafetyplan.us. If ever you have questions or you're looking for additional information or just need some help and some guidance in between those office hours opportunities, feel free to reach out. We're always happy to help. Well, that's all we have for today. We appreciate your time and your investment into the U.S. National Water Safety Action Plan and the U.S. in general with regards to water safety and drowning prevention. And we look forward to sharing this information out with you once we've got it posted. Have a great day, everyone.